A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
Here at Remodelers on the Rise, we've worked with hundreds of remodeling companies. And one of the patterns we see again and again is this. When a company fully implements JobTread, their business gets clearer. They know their numbers. They know where the jobs stand. They know what's making money and what's not. We've watched members go from guessing about profitability to having real-time visibility into their projects. That changes how you price, how you plan, and how you lead. JobTread brings estimating, scheduling, job costing, and invoicing into one connected system, and it works great. If you want more clarity and better control of your business, check out JobTread at JobTread, T-R-E-A-D, JobTread.com. And if you're going to be at the International Builders Show, make sure you swing by the JobTread booth. It's going to be in the South Hall, booth S8017. Stop by, meet the JobTread team, get a live demo, or just say hi. JobTread.com. Well, welcome everybody to the Remodelers on the Rise show. It is not, some business names are kind of boring. Other business names got a little pep to them. I'm talking to Isaiah Milton from Primetime Remodels.
Woot,
And if
woot.
you go to his website, he's in Des Moines, Iowa. We just did a little research on where was the origin of Des Moines, and now we know. Primetime Remodels, you'll see kind of this like 80s vibe and some bright colors. Welcome, Isaiah, and tell us how you arrived at this Primetime Remodels name and kind of the color scheme.
Thanks for having us on, Kyle. Thanks for having
Yes,
me
indeed.
on. I came up with the scheme just because I wanted to have a little bit more fun in my business. Before that, I was Isaiah's Home Services, rebranded to get my name out of it, wanted to have a little bit more fun. I had all of these really cool names like Integrity Builders and Compassion this. And then I realized I wanted the way that I interact with clients to naturally say that I was compassionate, that I was integrity driven, and I wanted something eye-catchy. And my wife would always tease me because I love board shorts. I shop at TJ Maxx for a lot of my shirts. They're Hurley. I've just kind of always had this like, I love the beach. I love that, even though I've barely ever been there. And just thought it'd just be fun. So yeah, that's a little bit about it.
So there we have Primetime Remodels. Remodels that wow. Central Iowa's premier home remodeling contractor. If you go to primetimeremodels.com, you can see his website. Isaiah joined our VIP club a while back. He came to the first annual RISE conference last August. Him and his wife happen to be coming to Franklin, Tennessee next week to the Remodel Your Marriage conference. We're doing a little bit of one-on-one coaching. So first, Isaiah, thank you for being a wonderful Remodelers on the Rise client.
No worries. Thank you for being a phenomenal coach.
Oh, you're welcome. Oh, this is starting out so beautifully. And a couple month and a half ago or so, we put something in Remodelers Community. If you go to remodelerscommunity.com, great Facebook group. And we were just lining up some podcast guests for 2026. Turns out, if you try to crank out a podcast every week, the weeks just keep coming. So we need to keep getting out there to see who we could have as a lovely guest. And in particular, we said, let's do some kind of coaching call style podcasts where, tell us a little bit about your business and some things that are going well. But then let's also kind of dig into some challenges, some things you're thinking about, and have a little coaching and back and forth. So that's what we're doing today. Isaiah, tell us a little bit more about your business. We got 69 Google reviews, 5.0 stars. We've got the aforementioned business name and kind of branding. Tell us a little bit more about the backstory.
Yeah, so I usually keep a short story long, so we'll try and keep a long story short today. I have been in construction kind of my whole life. I've had a huge amount of different career paths. I was a personal trainer at one point, trim carpenter, framing houses, cell phone stores manager, server, and all that kind of culminated a little bit to where I went to work for a remodel company here in town. That company went out of business, and I realized personally I was getting married, I was buying a house. There was just a lot of things going on, and as I was interviewing all of these other people to get a different job, I just realized, man, I really do love remodels. I just really hate the way that they were done at the company I worked for. And like any entrepreneur, you always think, well, I can do it better. And so that was kind of where that started. From that, there was just kind of a mix and a chaos of 7 years of about handyman, real estate. I got my real estate license, doing remodels, just kind of being pulled in every direction. But from that, it kind of just really sharpened my skills to know what clients really wanted from a customer service standpoint, what I was really called to, and what things just kind of clicked naturally for me. So about a year ago, we kind of rebranded and just really dialed in on remodels, which has been really life-giving to me, my clients, and it's been a really good switch for us. So
tell me more about why it's been life-giving.
So the reason it's been life-giving is I realized that doing the small stuff, I was always chucking a truck. I had all the tools. I could do all the tile work. I could do, kind of every single thing for a client. But a lot of it was clients really needed a more complete experience. Instead of needing a guy that knows how to do the work, they needed somebody to help coordinate, make sure everything goes in line, make sure selections were good, the timelines were met. And what I'd hear from a lot of my clients was, oh my gosh, you're amazing. We want to use you again. And that kind of led me on to the question of, well, why do you want to use me again? I think I'm awesome, but why are you thinking that I'm awesome personally? Not to toot my own horn, but it really came down to kind of communication.
Not to toot your own horn, it's okay to be a fan of ourselves a little bit. Obviously, we're not doing it for ego and this and that, but the flip side of that of, well, no, we're not that good. I mean, that's not helpful. So a little bit of confidence in business actually goes a long ways, and it's a hard thing to teach. So yes, you can think you're awesome, especially when you put in a lot of effort and a lot of work towards it. Carry on.
Great reminder. I need that reminder. But throughout that course of kind of realizing, okay, what do I want to do? I don't always want to be somebody on the tools all the time. I see a lot of other contractors that are booked out. They're doing all these big remodels, and a lot of their clients after the fact just don't really feel treated well. They switch from that contractor, and then all of a sudden they would call me. And I'd say, well, hold up. Why wouldn't you go with the past contractor? And then I started to kind of dig into a lot of these pain points that people had as far as the communication really wasn't well. The pricing wasn't really that great. They said it would take 4 weeks, and all of a sudden we're 12 weeks into this project. And in my mind, I was sitting here thinking, why would that ever be the case? And so for me, my skill set is I like to do things at a very high level. I love making sure that people have a space where they feel joy. And in my own home, I created that within a lot of my rooms, remodeled a huge amount of my house, a couple other houses that we've owned, a couple rentals that we've owned, and just really realized I want people to wake up feeling great about where they live. I wanted to help turn their house into a home, and how much joy that's brought me and my family to live in a home like that, and just being able to give that to somebody else, but not just give them a final product, but give them a service that made them feel like at the end of the project, they were never bitter about something. They always said, oh my gosh, we really believe that Isaiah and Primetime Remodels, when they said they were going to build this, they weren't the type of contractors that came in and they put one nail in when they could have put two. We believe that they're the guys that put 3 nails in, and that board's not going to move. That things are going to be done right, they're going to be done well, they're going to be done efficient, and they're really going to see us, hear us, and know us throughout the remodel. So that's kind of been a great change for us.
Yeah, it's interesting how some of your clarity around the shift and the pivot and the direction you went had to do with actually being curious and asking questions of like, well, tell me more about that. That's a good reminder for everybody listening that we cannot tire from asking our clients or even our prospects that reach out, dig in underneath the surface of, man, when somebody calls you and they've remodeled before and they're not calling them back, you ought to slow things down and dig into that story. One, so you can hear some of the pain points they have so that you can lean into that a little bit during your sales process, but also to consider how you can improve your business. One of the things that I've been leaning into hard over the last couple of years is anytime there's any kind of feedback, especially like in our peer groups, the in-persons, and even little things like I wish the timing of this, or I wish the food would have been this, or I wish we would have had a little more time for that. I've made it a policy to like immediately lean in, call, ask and inquire about it. And I think everything in us as business owners are kind of like, we're dealing with enough already, but anytime we can get some constructive feedback and just lean towards it, I think is a good best practice. So cool. All right. We got a little foundation. We got a little backstory. When I said, all right, a little coaching call, a little live podcast coaching call, what's your main kind of thought, main question you want? You may have said this, sir, finding your why in business to where you have a bigger goal that fills your cup each and every day while building something bigger than yourself. Finding your why in business to where you have a bigger goal that fills your cup each and every day while building something bigger than yourself. Why did you put fingers to keys or pen to paper or however you originally wrote this? Why did that kind of float up to the top of your list and top of your questions?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think within the course of a year, we took my business from kind of me just being 100% on the tools to all of a sudden now I was running a high efficiency remodel company. We were doing 2 to 3 remodels at a really high level. Finances were no longer an issue by any means. They never were, but all of a sudden we had a surplus of financial prosperity in our life that we really want to give back to people. And kind of just realizing that, to be a remodeler that really just honors, loves, and cares about people is phenomenal. And as long as I'm doing that, there's always going to be the financial aspect of that. And I'm always going to be in high demand. But over the course of the long period, when you first become self-employed, a lot of times it's how do I pay my monthly rent? That's the biggest question. How do I pay my overhead? How do I make a little bit of money to where I can actually retire in the future? And now that we've kind of crossed that milestone to where it's like, I think I kind of got a little bit of a niche on this. I think I know my numbers. I think I know what's going to happen in the future. It's going to be kind of boring to do the exact same thing for 10 or 20 or 30 years without a bigger purpose behind it. And I talk with
hence that part that you said of needing perhaps a bigger goal that fills your cup, that purpose cup.
Yeah. And so talking with a lot of people that work 9 to 5s, I've kind of realized that they don't really have as much margin. A lot of their retirement goals are really based on, we don't want to do our 9 to 5 anymore. And that's always been my goal because it's been, well, I like what I do, but it's really for a financial aspect. And being self-employed, it could be easy to get burnout. It could be easy to just go down that trail. And I need to find an intentional why behind every single day that really motivates me, that helps me see a future vision for it, that actually makes it more sustainable long term.
So going before going kind of into the future, or even now, in the past, when you think about where your why was in your business, was it more around just like it being sustainable and it being like just getting the basic foundations in place? What would you say your why has been in the past?
I'd say the why in the past has been a little bit more of a hobby. And it was my main source of income. I've been self-employed for 10 or 12 years total throughout the entire course of my working adult life. And so it was really just, we were doing the things to make the income. We were honoring people when calls came in. We would take them, we would go respond to them, we would do the job, we would help people out. But now that we can kind of fine tune and select exactly what projects we want, it's a little bit more of a, how can we give life to people? How can we, does this client fit? Does this client not fit? Does it fit our goals? Does it fit our objectives? Can we help fit their objectives and their goals? And just really make it a great win for absolutely everybody involved in the project.
So there's a little bit of some different hoops and different things you've gone through to get to where you are. It's like, man, I haven't even thought, 2 years ago, you weren't really thinking about your long-term why, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're like, man, making this transition from handyman to design build and the why that we're doing it. I don't have time to worry about not getting my cup full. Number one, my cup is full because I've got a lot of challenges in front of me and I got a lot of new things and I've got rebranding and I've got new processes and systems. I better sign up for some coaching so I can understand my numbers better, et cetera, et cetera. You really haven't worried too much about the why. You gave a little bit of, you know what, we want to take great care of people. We see an opportunity here to do that on these bigger scale projects, but your mind was focused on setting up the systems. Not correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now there's a little bit of, I've kind of figured out a lot of the puzzle here. I've kind of I understand the blueprints a little bit more. And while you are still happy to serve your existing clients, there is a little bit of the, what's the next big thing? What's the next big thing I can sink my teeth into? Because you're a guy that likes to sink your teeth into things, aren't you?
I am, unfortunately.
Fortunately / maybe unfortunately.
I like
think there's probably a lot of people listening to this, myself included, where it was like, I liken it to this, where early in my business, if something good happened, let's say I generated a new lead from some new thing I was doing. I remember literally like having a physical in my body response, like whether it was like my heart beating a little bit more or like this like nervous butterflies of like, but excited ones of like, holy cow. Or I remember early on of like putting a new coaching package in front of somebody and doing it at a higher rate because my coach was telling me to do it, my mastermind was telling me to do it, and then getting a yes and being like going from nervous to like jubilant, like higher highs, and sometimes lower lows. But I recognize that after 18 years of doing this, as far as that little butterfly, as far as that little feeling, as far as that little excitement, it doesn't happen nearly as much now as it did before.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
Yeah.
Is that part of what we're talking about?
Yeah, definitely. It's once you start doing it long enough, it's like for me, it's we've had some really big remodels. We've had some really cool projects. And so then when somebody calls us for a smaller project that we've kind of already done this type of project, we're proficient in it, we know how to do it really well. It doesn't really seem like the next milestone or the next biggest thing or the next brightest thing. And so then it just kind of feels like this old thing that we're repeating. And I don't want to feel that way, quite frankly, with any project. I want to make sure every project feels great and valuable, and every client feels like, man, he is excited about every single project and just pumped to do this.
So there's two things you said there that jumped out at me. One is I don't want it to feel mundane. I don't want it to feel repetitive. I don't want it to feel that way. And then the other thing you said is I want it to be exciting. I want it to be this. So even based on what I just mentioned of like, I just sold a coaching package last week. I didn't get that big feeling that I used to early on in my business. It wasn't there. Yet at the same time, I am excited to work with them, but this is remodeler number 172 that I've gone through this with. Right. Yeah. So if I were like, what is the matter with me? Why am I not getting that little butterfly thing when I signed it? Well, it's because you're just more mature. You've kind of gone through that a little bit. But slow down, Kyle, for a second. It's still pretty amazing. Like you developed, in this case, you developed a relationship over the course of multiple years through JobTread. You invested big bucks to go down there, put a nice booth together. You flew 2 of your team members down there. You had a meaningful, thoughtful conversation at your booth. You put them through your initial sales process. They filled out that form. You had a very authentic coaching call like you typically do, which is your sales call, if you will. He was sold by the end of that. You sent him over an invoice. He signed that thing. And now it's time to get to work. For me, some of it is recognizing that it's okay that I don't have that same feeling I did in the past. The other exciting thing is that part of the calmness that I feel about it is because I have been there, done that. I know that I can deliver for this person. I know that I can impact their life in a big way. Does it get me as riled up and down as it used to? No. Is it still a little bit more quiet, muted confidence that I have and excitement that I have towards it? Yes. Will I not get excited until we're going through the different sections and this and that, and then I finally zero in and go, oh, we got to a light bulb moment. This is what I do this for. And I recognize that this gentleman who is struggling with financials, who is struggling with understanding his numbers, who needs to mark up his pricing more and this and that, we finally get to the part of the conversation 4 meetings in where that light bulb moment goes off and I see, yes, that is going to make such a huge impact for him. it's different, and it's okay for it to be different. So I wanted to get that out there of you need to make sure that you don't set the bar so high on what fills your cup that you're constantly disappointed.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can see that.
Yet you still want to be driven to go, go, go. It's also similar. I was going through, all right, so you saw that. Hang on, give me one takeaway from what I just said. What else landed?
I think the big thing was that you've been in the position before, you've done it before, you know you can deliver, and there's kind of the shift, and there's that moment of clarity for you to where it's kind of oh, this matches my why, I know how to help this, and there's kind of that it's like the secret ingredient. They're like, ooh, I can give them this, and they don't even know how much it's going to blow their mind yet. And so like looking for that little spark of joy to say, oh, I can really help this person, or I can really do that. It just might not come at the time of the sale like it used to, because it used to be kind of financially driven, but now it's just driven by a different factor. So your why's probably changed as the years have gone on. Doing it for a long time, being more proficient in it, and all of those things.
Yeah, and it's okay for it not to be this big butterfly feeling or moment. It's like, you know what? It is so good that we have built this thing, that we've built this team, that we solve problems better than we ever have before, that frankly, we have fewer problems on the job site because of this and that. And doggone it, my why is to give them an enjoyable, wonderful remodeling experience. And that means that unlike HGTV, where right before commercial number 2, there's some kind of big blow up on the project, frankly, it doesn't happen with us because we care about the process so much and because of what we put in. So this idea of finding joy in not as exciting things, I think, is a real thing for us, frankly, just as humans in general. I think every project in your case is unique. Every relationship is unique. Your joy in the conversation, in the relationship you have with that client might not even be remodeling related. It could be a meaningful conversation that you have with them about something going on in their life that made a positive impact on them. It might have nothing to do with the project. The project just went smooth. They went from crappy kitchen to beautiful kitchen. It was smooth, didn't have a lot of hiccups, this and that. But remember that conversation that you had because of the relationship you built, because you started a business, because you built up that know, like, and trust. That was meaningful to them. Like, I think we need to find smaller things to find joy with, especially as we move up the ladder of quote unquote success. It's interesting. I asked my son yesterday, he's struggling with finding joy. And I said, tell me what makes you joyful, Thomas. And he goes, talking to my ex-girlfriend would make me joyful right now. I thought that was kind of funny. I'm going, well, let's not check that one off. And I'm challenging him right now to say, all right, find smaller things to be joyful about. You've built up your joy in your head, Thomas, that it has to be this or this or this. There are small little things of joy. That song that you love, that you put on while you're driving around and you're just kind of cruising and singing and having a good time, that's a little bit of joy, buddy. And I think there's a little bit of that in the conversation we're having. Yeah. Of finding smaller joys. It's not a very exciting answer so far, but it's a good one.
Well, so I feel like a great takeaway for me would be to start journaling those moments while we're going through a process. We had a kitchen remodel that we're currently working on, and you know, when somebody first meets you, you're kind of in the dating phase. You're a little bit of, is this our contractor? Is it not? They're kind of going through their options and looking around, and then you know, you're focused on the numbers. Will this work long term? Does he find the priority that I have? Does this happen? But I think a lot of times, you know, I've been so focused on the numbers and the outcome and the process and the system that sometimes I forget to really connect with clients. And I realized with one of these kitchen remodels that we just did, I just had a great experience. We were in the process of the remodel. We were about 2 weeks in, really great timelines. We were just knocking things out of the park, doing great. And I got the question that was, so how did you end up getting in this? And it was a portion where I could just really share my passion. And I think I sat there and talked for 20 minutes. And maybe they didn't even want me to talk for 20 minutes. But it was just about me.
Well, they shouldn't have asked the question then.
Darn tootin', you're right. But just talking about how, you know, like, it just brings me joy to see something that was not, that kind of fit your family. And now all of a sudden you're passionate about something, you're invested in something, and we're both on a mission. We're partnering up to make your kitchen as beautiful as possible to where it fits your family, your function, your vibes. And it was just one of those moments where I left that conversation thinking, I sure hope they didn't I sure hope that they were like, okay, wow, he's really passionate about stuff. And like, and not like,
I was just thinking it was a remodeling project, but this guy runs a little deeper than that.
Exactly. But it was one of those little moments that for the next 2 or 3 days, I just kept thinking back to that conversation as far as, oh my gosh, I just got to pour into somebody and say, hey, here's what I learned. Here's how I do things. Here's why I do what I do. And for me, it was one of those tiny joy moments that I need to record a little bit more to say, okay, where are those moments of joy? Yeah. Where am I finding them? And start to recalibrate between, signing that next $300,000, $400,000 remodel. Yes, there's financial gain to it. It helps me hit my sales goal for the year. But what are those small moments, those small little bursts of light through the clouds that make me just remember, this is why we do what we do. Yes. This is why we want to honor clients.
Yes. So that why of honoring clients, helping clients, that's going to hopefully continue to be your why for a long, long, long time in business. That's not going to change. I think what fills your cup, to use your words, what fills your cup is going to continue to change. I've seen it with a lot of my other clients where they go from, you know what? Okay, I've checked that box. I've got the financials in order. Man, that used to drive me. Getting out of debt and getting up a savings. I dreamed of the day I could do that. All right, I've got that under control. You know what? I've always dreamed of being able to do this in my business. And okay, I've got a really great sales process. I dreamed of the day where I wouldn't have to do those tasks that are so annoying. Now I have an office manager that does that for me. That's amazing. Like things shift, and you move on to maybe the next thing that fills your cup. And you don't even need to worry about it yet because it might be time, down the road, but it might be pouring into your team, whether that's just trade partners or whether that's employees. That might fill your cup. That reminds me of Brett Alexa with Oddfellows Contracting. He's like, you know what? I want to keep growing this business because I want to give my current employees even more. And if we continue to grow and we continue to improve, we continue more profitable, I can do that. And I also want more people to be on my team so that more people can work in an environment that's great and we can serve more clients. There's a lot of clients out there not being served by a reputable remodeling company. And the more we pour into this company and the more we grow it, the more people we can help. Like his why kind of shifted towards that. Very different than what it was before. I also think that butterfly thing, when you think of, we went to a story night on Friday, Isaiah.
Okay.
Because
what's a story night?
Cultured. It's when your friend Anna says, I want to get a group of people together and everybody bring a story from ordinary life.
Oh, I like it. That's a great, there we go.
Yeah. And everybody brought a story and it was just a fun night. Half the people my wife and I hadn't really known, and it was a great night. And my wife brought a story that she wrote for a class in college. So we went downstairs and she has a couple bins of her college stuff. And luckily it was right at the top and we were just able to grab it. We prefaced it by going, let's do a couple things. Let's actually clean the storage room while we do our deep search for this. And then we found it within like 3 minutes and we're like, nope, storage room's going to remain messy. We're out of here. But I opened up a box and looking through these memories of like just pictures. And there's a picture of me looking at Sarah. We're high school sweethearts. And she's doing this little thing like this. Like she was up to something, like trying to sweet talk me or something. I was holding her arms and kind of looking serious. And I remember early on in our relationship, just like seeing her at school, butterflies. That girl, I'm going to chase that girl. And then we dated, and then turns out after 20 years of marriage, the butterflies aren't the same as dating and even engagement and even the honeymoon phase. It's just different. It's not bad though. It's different. And frankly, the years of experience with each other and the years of relationship and bonding and shared experiences and love and admiration and all of that builds, and it's something different now. And what fills our cup is different now than before. So as I was going through that butterfly thing on the business side, I think it also, you can see it in, you've been married for a while, like it shifts and that changes. So how do you continue to fill the cup? Your cup in marriage, her cup in marriage, you get creative, you figure out new things. And frankly, I think as we move along in business and the need to recognize the little things and to shift our mindset from on the business side, another client, okay, sign this, cool, yip-de-doo. Kyle says ring a bell when we sign something, I'll ring a bell, yay. Now I got to get to work. No, stop it. Shift it totally. We get to serve this client. I just provided more work for all of my trade partners. I just provided more for my own home. We're going to be able to put some in savings. We're going to be able to give some. Like a subtle shift changes how you totally, like, fills your cup totally different. I can look at that new client I signed and be like, I got another number of meetings this month. Or I could go, you know what, this is wonderful, and I'm looking forward to getting to know him more and serving him. Mindset can fill your cup.
Mm-hmm.
I want to tell you about something that we see all the time in our coaching work. A remodeler joins Remodelers on the Rise feeling overwhelmed. Projects feel scattered. Financials feel fuzzy. Systems feel patched together. Then they implement JobTread. And over time, things start to change for the better. Their estimates get tighter. Their schedules get clearer. Their job costing gets more accurate. Their invoicing gets more consistent. We've watched JobTread help our members move from chaos to control. Not overnight, but in a sustainable way that supports growth. It's an all-in-one platform built for remodelers who want to run a real business, not just stay busy. If you're ready for a better system, better decisions, learn more at JobTread.com. Okay, so you've had some takeaways so far. One of the things you mentioned was finding trade partners that, and maybe even employees in the future, that have a similar vision and align with your company's why. Now, articulate again, what is your company's why again?
Oh gosh, I've got it on my website somewhere. I shouldn't look at that right now. I think it's a lot of values based, as far as really just honoring people, making sure they have a really high efficiency remodel, very dedicated, time on task, and appreciation towards not only the people doing the work, but the clients and everybody involved, everybody within my business. So I really like to just pour as much appreciation towards people as possible.
Yeah, we show up with respect, listen closely, treat your home like it's our own. That mindset applies to every part of our business, from how we talk to our clients to how we collaborate with crews and coworkers. We're built on passion, skill, and the desire to serve. Your remodel shouldn't be a headache. And then we got some core values down here. Right. So I think one of the big things of finding trade partners or employees that share similar vision is to get really clear with kind of that vision. And you've done a good job of that. Like, I was able to, you said it's on your website, click, boom, there it is. Mm-hmm. You know, if I'm a prospect reading it, that resonates with me. Maybe I even see that after you do the initial phone call before you come out to the home. Maybe you send me a little link to that, so that ties in with that. But even trade partners, you connect with a new trade partner, you send them that page and say, this is what we're about. This is what we're about. And we try to serve very differently than a lot of folks. That's going to stand out to them. And like all good marketing, it's either going to attract the right folks or kind of repel the wrong folks.
Yeah.
What do you think your big, hairy, audacious goal is? What one writer said, BHAG. What do you think your BHAG is? Your big, long, 30 years in the future. What do you think that is?
Oh, that's a great question. Currently it's a scary goal. I'll say that. But I would love to build a team where I can pour into people so much that they're able to go do this on their own, that they kind of leave with, I might get somebody that comes in as a employee and they're going to leave as a business owner, or they're going to leave with a different sense of, here's how we do business in the future. Here's kind of the reasons we do things. Here's how we do things. And here are the non-negotiables with kind of how we live life. If that makes sense for you.
Mm-hmm. So I like that.
To take every single person that comes in and leave them better off than when they found me, or when I found them.
I like that. Okay.
So,
and it's scary because of the idea of bringing on team members.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit of that. There's a big. I am a high level person, so I like to do things very, very high efficiency. I've realized sometimes I don't give myself enough grace. I don't give others enough grace personally, because I really have here are the standards, here are the goals. We're going to meet this timeline. We're going to meet this budget, and there's not really a maybe. There's never a maybe. It's if you have a question for me as a client, I don't know that answer right now, but we're going to figure that out. We've got a huge amount of experience that can help shape that question. But within remodeling, everything's so specific and so unique that I just want to make sure that we're kind of putting the best foot forward and saying, hey, here's the exact options that really fit your project, your lifestyle, moving forward.
So is there a little bit of scariness around, I'm preaching and talking about being very people focused and human interaction and the way we communicate. And then, boy, how would that look and feel if I had a team around me when I am so like driven, recognizing there's some growth there and there's some learning there. That's part of what's a little scary.
Yeah. And I think a big thing too is within the construction industry, I just don't think a lot of people really think that way. And let me rephrase that. There are people that think that way. There are people that have goals.
Hey, try not to offend my listeners while we're doing this, okay?
I know.
Present company excluded.
Yeah, the Remodelers on the Rise excluded.
Yes.
There are people that have those goals, that have those visions, that kind of live, they have their heart on their sleeve within their business, but it's really hard to find those. And generally what I found is a lot of the people that I've kind of looked up to within kind of, whether it's remodels or construction, it's very transactional. It's very next thing. It's very, very little people caring driven.
Mm-hmm.
And so not really having that precedent to see somebody go ahead of me, or really have a lot of people to really look up to say, what does that really look like, to really honor people, to make sure, your trade partners are paid on time. They're paid a little bit more than what they asked for. That, we just really honor people and say, oh, you're undercharging us a little bit. Okay, let's make sure that you need to provide for your family. And to where it's a win for everybody. I just haven't seen a lot of that. And I know it exists. I just haven't seen it. So either I'm going to be the person to create it, and I just don't entirely always know what that looks like. So I don't want a chaos.
And that unknown, for somebody who likes to know exactly what to do and how to do it, that unknown drives you a little bonkers.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I'm not worried about that for you.
Why?
Because on February 2nd, 2026, maybe a year or 18 months or 22 months or whenever you decide, before you even hire somebody, you're already thinking about it.
Yeah.
And somebody that's actually let me finish that one, then I'll tell another one. Somebody that's actually thinking about it, and how does my why and what we're all about, how is that going to work when I have team members that are wearing this logo and that are actually, part of who we are? It's not my biggest strong suit. I'm so efficient and I like to move things through. The fact that you're asking it is 80% of the battle. And the fact that with trade partners, and you're saying it correctly, they're not subcontractors. And part of the reason we call them trade partners is because we treat them like team members, because we've got shared experiences. We've been on projects together. We care about them. The fact that you're already thinking, even with your trade partners who aren't even wearing the logo, you're already trying to figure out, how do I serve these people well? And how do we take care of them and how do we respect them? You're going to take that same approach to your team members. You're going to give them their birthday off. You're going to set up water cooler time where you actually sit there and you might have to take a breath and go, okay, I really want to start working on things, but it's important that we bond a little bit, and it's okay for them to have a little fun at work. You're going to make sure that once a month there's some kind of Friday afternoon something. You're going to make sure there's a wonderful Christmas or holiday party. You're already going to be doing a lot of those things. And frankly, the answer to how you serve your employees really well is on an individual person by person basis. If you're sitting down with them and doing one-on-ones, and not because you're going to be their best friend, but because you actually care about them. How can I help you? What do you need more of at work? Checking in. How's everything going? Just overall, you don't need to share any details, but I just want to check in on that, because I know sometimes, you've mentioned that life at home is a little stressful. Just all of those small things add up. And so I'm not too, when you get to that point, you'll learn some things. Oh, I shouldn't have gone that far. Oh, I shouldn't become best friends with my team members because that makes firing this guy difficult. Like there's things you'll learn, but the fact that you're asking the question tells this coach who's talked to a lot of people, I'm not worried about it because your heart is in the right spot with it.
Awesome. Yeah, that's actually one thing that's interesting that you said is I don't remember how many bosses in my past have ever remembered when my birthday was.
Yeah.
Like it's always like, hey, I need this day off, and then it's like, well, why? Oh, it's my birthday, and they're like, oh, well, that kind of interferes with the schedule. Instead of like, I mean, you have my application right away. You should just say, okay, every May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, Isaiah's not working every single time.
Yours is an easy one to remember too.
I know. One day I'll be on a beach, but until then.
Cool. And then another thing you had written down was how to pivot your why as your business evolves and how to realize if your old why isn't fueling you. Given kind of what we've been chatting about, what's kind of your answer or take to that?
Oh, I think you've kind of nailed it throughout the course of this. And I would just say that seasons change, trade partners come and go, certain clients come and go, you might have years where you do, 2 million in revenue. You might have years where you only do 1 million in revenue. So like as things come and go, and especially as I'm only 31. So for me, finding kind of the long-term vision, I always think like, what's the why right now? And then in a year, I forget what the why was. I'm very good at that because it's not something that I really broadcast out there. And it's something that it's in a journal. I wrote it down, and then I need to go back and dig through 17 different files to find what the why was. And I don't think that's necessarily a terrible thing, but making sure it's very top of mind to, okay, in every single day, ask what was the why behind this day? Did it align? Did my whys today actually align with my stated whys? Did the actions that I take today align with that why? And if I consistently start to find that, okay, the actions that I'm taking aren't aligning with that why, there's probably a really good factor in there to say, okay, hold up. We were hitting this 90% of the time. 90% of the time, our why was, yep, this was the mission, this was the course. But all of a sudden, if we're only hitting it 40 to 50% of the time, either my actions need to change, or I need to come back and say, okay, how has the business changed? How have I changed? How has our trade partners, our revenue, or just the business in general? And really reevaluate to say, okay, hold up. What is the why now? What is filling other people's cups as well as what's filling my cup to make sure that I'm showing up for the best for people? So,
I think that filling the cup and that, what's kind of fueling me, I think both of those are similar thoughts. And maybe it's just me and my experience with a lot of folks, and especially when there's a certain level of business success that's been achieved. Like we've talked about here, what filled your cup before is different now. What fills your cup now is going to be different in the future. It's a really, really important thing to think about. What fills my cup? What gets me excited? What's fueling me? And frankly, as we grow our business and our team, we can sometimes do more things that fill our cup and less things that don't. And sometimes those things that don't are things that fill other people's cups. So that's interesting. Sometimes you get your business going to the point where it's running really smoothly and it's cooking and doing that, and you fill your cup with a different venture, with this nonprofit thing, with this side hustle, with this new business venture. Sometimes that comes to fruition. And frankly, it's not until we get a really well-oiled machine that gets those foundations in place, that gets the process in place, that we even get the opportunity to maybe consider that. But I'm just convinced that so much of filling our cup and keeping a fulfilled attitude a fulfilled feeling at the end of the day, at the end of the week, has to do with our perspective on things and our attitude about things. I find it very hard to believe that for the majority of us, in the majority of situations, that we cannot, through a little bit of positive thinking and a little bit of perspective and a little bit of attitude adjustment, of stop focusing on the negatives and ignoring all the positives, you doofus Kyle, that we can't find more fulfillment and cup filling on a day-to-day basis. But that is a skill that we need to learn, and it's a skill that we can train ourselves. Even one of your takeaways earlier, I need to kind of journal at the end of the day. And I'm not saying it's the power of positive thinking. That's the whole key to it. Nah, not necessarily. It's the power of perspective. It's the power of attitude adjustment. It's the power of, yes, finding some positives. It's the power of keeping negatives in their proper place and not letting them triple in size because we fixate on them.
Yeah.
So I think that filling the cup and fueling, I think there's something to be said for just that day in and day out, the start of the day going, you know what, today's kind of a fairly boring day, kind of going through the motions. I'm going to find some positives. I'm going to find some ways to serve people. I'm going to find ways to have an interesting conversation today. And you know what, some days are mundane and some days are super exciting, and that's okay. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you got a business going, your business can be a little boring. And that's a good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
One thing
go ahead, please.
One thing I did that I'm reminded of that I need to start doing again. When I very first started this company, is one of those things where I didn't have business cards. I had no clue about business. I had no insurance. I mean, it was just for 2 months, it was just figuring stuff out. And I had some great business mentors that helped me figure stuff out. But I started a calendar and it was a fully set aside calendar. And, you know, it was I had nothing in savings. I had pretty much no money. I barely had enough tools to accomplish jobs. So I would get paid from a job, and then I would buy the tools and I would do the job. And it was just very rinse and repeat and, you know, living on ramen noodles, quite frankly. But I started a calendar that every single time a job came in, for me, it gave me those butterfly feelings. So I would put in this calendar, I would just put a little note that said, made the mortgage payment today. And that was just a win. And so every year I still get a couple of those reminders of, oh, remember when you didn't have money in the account and this came through, or remember when this happened or that happened. And so I've got about a year of, I think there's probably only 10 or 12 entries in there that were just like these just blessings. And it might not have been, oh, you sold $1 million, or, you know, it might have been, hey, all of a sudden you found a tool for 50% off, just the small blessings that brought me joy. And that still pops up in my calendar every once in a while. And I think, oh yeah, I do kind of remember back to those days where it was like, man, you were just brand new at doing this. And oh yeah, it was, your problems now are infinitely smaller than what they used to be. You've got better problems, you've got better things, but certain things filled your cup, and there was that opportunity of joy. And it just kind of makes me pause and remember, like, oh yeah, life's good. Life's good. So
that's a good perspective right there.
I need to start doing that.
Yeah. One other thought that comes to mind also is, I think in business, we go through a little bit of ups and downs where it's like, okay, big growth. Oh, we got this figured out. And then we kind of plateau a little bit, and it's like, okay, phew, catch our breath. I can't remember when we were down here and we've done this and this and this, now we're here. And sometimes, and you might be in that a little bit right now, where it's kind of like a catch in your breath, a little bit of like, what's next? A little bit of like, hey, things are good. And man, when I look back to where it was, things are really good. And sometimes that also is just a season or two to get geared up kind of maybe for the next thing, for the next move, for the next challenge, if you will. I have a hunch that that's kind of where you're at a little bit right now too.
I think you're right.
Nice.
It's just harder to see it when you're looking at it, right? And you're sitting in it. So got to prepare for the next
when
season.
You come on the Remodelers on the Rise show, then the clouds part and you have picture perfect clarity on your why and how you fill up. I don't know if we got picture perfect clarity, but I really enjoyed the conversation because it was different. I appreciate you bringing that topic. It's an authentic, honest topic that I think a lot of people grapple with, of going, what's next? What's now? This isn't as exciting anymore. And I think both of us, you shared just as many, maybe even better ideas and thoughts than I did on this. And I think between what we both shared, I think I think everybody listening to this is going to have a takeaway. And I think their takeaways are going to be very wide and different because depending on kind of where they're at. But for all of you listening to this, do let us know what the takeaway is. If you listen to this, people, if you look up Primetime Remodels and you fill out his contact form and you share a takeaway from our conversation today, yours truly, for the first 2 people that do it, will be receiving some Remodelers on the Rise swag. And Isaiah, it's up to you to forward it over to me when the 2 come through. Won't that be kind of exciting?
I will.
All right.
And the next
People,
3, I'll match that. The next 3, so 5 total. I'll make sure they got some Primetime swag.
Come on, people. You
There we
heard
go.
us. Go to Primetime Remodels, primetimeremodels.com. Fill out the contact form. Tell us what your takeaway is, and you go and get some swag and all kinds of goodies from your new friend Kyle and Isaiah. Isaiah, that was fun. Thank you so much. Keep it up.
Thanks for having us, Kyle.
You bet. Thanks for watching the Remodelers on the Rise podcast. If this episode was helpful, make sure you subscribe to the channel and like this video. That helps more remodelers find these conversations. You'll find links below to connect with us, to join our remodelers community and explore more resources or our coaching options. If you don't want to miss future episodes, turn on notifications so you know when new videos are live. Thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you being here. We'll talk to you again soon.